Okay, not attorney, not giving legal advice. Educational purposes only. Gonna make this short and sweet. Okay, so this is actually one of the best magistrates in the state of Texas. Okay, um, matter of fact, if not the best magistrate in the state of Texas, because I have not heard or seen any other magistrate that does the things he does. Okay, now educational purposes only. Do your own research, especially in the state of Texas, because I'm going by state of Texas criminal codes. Okay, so number one, I have a problem with him on. Okay, everything else is pretty much great. He is just now seeing her. Okay, well, this is proper cause hearing. Okay, so by criminal codes 14, 15, 16, I'd say this over and over and over, right? She is supposed to see him with the officer to proceed forward in the proper cause, because he has got 24 hours. They have this thing called 48, 72 hours, but that's not going by the code, okay? And he sends it to the clerk. The clerk sends it to the grand jury, not the prosecutor, okay? That's not the way it's supposed to work, okay? Now, that being said, when the clerk sends it to the grand jury, not the prosecutor, then they send a bill back and say to proceed forward on said case. Okay, and this is the reason why our corrupt court systems is so messed up. They're not even following Texas law, our statute, codes, rules, and regulations, even their civil rules procedure, criminal rules procedure. They're not even following them. All right, this is Southern Draw Law, okay, out of Tennessee. He just picked this video and popped up on my screen today, so this was a really good one because I have seen his videos a couple of times. Made a video a while back on it. All right, did the exact same thing. I challenged the beginning part, but everything else was excellent. So listen to what he does. Now, this is the end of this ladies right here. He's going to go on to another case, but the attorney's going to come and speak before they go to the next video.
Please take a seat. Okay, I talk about this a lot in my DUI videos, and people always, they're usually dipshits, but they always give me a hard time in the comments. They're like, no, if you do that in this state, you're going to have to do it. Guys, listen. The judge just told you. A lot of people just don't understand this concept. They've been convinced over the years that you've got an implied consent, and by God, if you refuse to do field sobriety tests, you're automatically going to lose your license. If your lawyer has told you that, you need to fire them. Okay, because that's not true. DUIs are one of the most uniform standards across the country because of the fact that the federal government controls the purse strings. So almost all of the stuff is very close or identical in its language. You must build the case as a law enforcement officer before people can be penalized for refusing to play the game.
Okay, now remember, Congress is carrying the purse string, right? The money. So you got to take that into consideration, right? Texas, my state, sold us out to get revenue from Congress, allegedly. I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice.
And field sobriety tests are voluntary everywhere that I'm aware of. Now, if I'm wrong, show me something in the law. Don't give me some opinion that is just based on your feelings. Show me something in the law, and I'll read it for myself and try to figure out whether or not that's true. As far as I know, field sobriety tests are voluntary everywhere. And as the judge indicates, you don't even get to ask someone or try to penalize someone for not taking field sobriety tests. Because we all know what happens. When they say, no, I'm not going to take them, they immediately get hooked up. So if you stop your inquiry there when they say no, and you haven't built this thing from reasonable suspicion up to probable cause, you've just tanked your DUI case. So if the officer stops somebody and they reasonably suspect they've been drinking and doing all these things, and they start this preliminary investigation, if they jump too early to the field sobriety test and that person has enough wherewithal to say, no, I'm not doing it, the officer's case is tanked. if they decide then to try to arrest them. And in this particular case, you just heard a search warrant was sought for their blood and it was obtained. And what's going to happen is, regardless of what the results of that blood test was, this judge is on record now saying that this case was not built probable cause to the point to where they could even ask him for field sobriety tests. People always give me a hard time about this in the comments. You must build the case. It is not as simple, no matter what they've convinced you of a police officer just saying you have to do this and then you have to do it and you automatically lose your driver's license. And I don't care if you got a CDL, none of that too. I was the CDL prosecutor. It's not true. It's not true. They have to build the case before it triggers your requirement to do anything. And then you still don't have to do field sobriety tests. Now, if there's been probable cause established, then you have to give your blood or breath. And if you don't, then your license gets suspended. But the judge will determine after the fact whether or not there was sufficient evidence, just like Judge Fleischer's doing right here, to determine whether you were required to do that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not just the officer asked and I signed this paper and he read it to me and it's end of story. That's not where the analysis ends. You go back and look at the evidence before you determine whether that person had an obligation to give their blood or breath in the first place. And then if they were forced to do it, even through a search warrant, if the case was not built to the point to where they were obligated to do it under the law, then all that gets suppressed.
Now, before we go any further on that, I just want to pinpoint. That being said, 99% of the judges in the state of Texas is going to go on the behalf of the prosecutor. All right, the DA. Okay? So, even though he speaks it, that's true, that's not the way it's working here in Texas. And probably in most other states as well. So, just keep that in mind as well. Okay?
You're Keon Shaw. Yes, Shaw, you're charged with fleeing a police officer. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, Judge. On October 27, 2024, officer was conducting a routine patrol on Eldridge Parkway when he noticed the defendant's motor vehicle traveling at an unsafe speed, exceeding the posted 35-mile-per-hour zone. The vehicle then began driving in a suspicious manner by making a sudden left turn on the street and immediately parking on the left side of the road. When the vehicle noticed the officer's fully marked patrol vehicle passing, it immediately conducted a U-turn and got back on the main road. When the officer continued to follow the defendant's vehicle, the vehicle again conducted a left turn and pulled into an alleyway. When the officer initiated his emergency equipment in an attempt to conduct a traffic stop, the defendant's motor vehicle passed multiple safe stopping points before finally coming to a stop after traveling 0.5 miles through a dark and empty parking lot.
So at this point, the average people would think, okay, probable cause. All right? So we're going to go ahead and proceed in the case. But this is what the magistrate is supposed to do in your cases, whether it's DWI, whether it's driving, or whether it's any other type of crime. Okay? Because in Texas, anything that has to do with transportation is a crime. And you can use criminal defense. And they have to go through the same process. They have a special statute that kind of circumvents, but it's within the same guidelines.
What was he doing wrong?
See, and even if he didn't ask, that's what you ask. Okay? What was I doing wrong?
The officer, he was originally traveling at an unsafe speed, exceeding the speed limit, 35 miles. He was exceeding that speed limit.
How much?
Let me see the DMs if he specified. You're wrong, he did not specify. It was just an unsafe speed exceeding the limit. And then
Nothing's unsafe to me.
And then he began driving, according to the officer, in a suspicious manner, making sudden turns and then stopping on the side of the road.
Judge Fleischer said, nothing's unsafe to me. And I don't know if there's something about his personality. I think he probably just hauls ass everywhere he goes. He just strikes me as this, like, kind of rebellious, cantankerous kind of guy. But I like this because, you know, in Tennessee, we have an evading statute that says basically that if, and the language is, after being given any signal from a law enforcement officer, if you choose to evade and you're in a vehicle, that's a felony in Tennessee. But a lot of police officers, they'll be going the other way, and then they'll turn around and the person will speed up. And they'll speed up, and the police officer will lose them, and then they'll know who it is, right? It's usually somebody they know don't have a driver's license, whatever. But they didn't get turned around fast enough on them to turn on their lights. So you've got a police officer that's like back here, and then there's like a hill right here, and the person's on the other side of the hill. The police officer turns on their lights back here. The person at the bottom of the hill over on the other side can't see that. And the officer can't testify that that person was ever aware that they were even trying. Of course, the person probably knew when they saw him U-turn that they were coming after him, but that's not the same. That doesn't satisfy the elements. The elements are that you gave them a signal to stop, i.e. you turned on your lights, you turned on your siren after you were within eyesight of them, and they knew you were trying to stop them. Not they anticipated that you were going to stop them, not I thought that he thought that I knew that he knew that I knew that he knew I was going to stop him. That's not a crime. And so I like that Judge Fletcher here, he's like, what did he do that was illegal? There's no speed that's unsafe for me. Where are you going to, first of all, it doesn't sound like you have a good traffic stop because you don't even know how fast he was going. But on top of that, you want to charge him with fleeing and eluding because he decided to avoid you. He didn't do anything illegal. So it's not just DUIs. Apparently Judge Fleischer is a scrutinous judge, and I like that. I think it's respectable.
And then getting back on the road once the officer passed. So
Anything illegal with that? You know,
I believe it would just be the speed limit would be the point at which the officer.
it's a conclusory statement. We need to have like a workshop on how to write ORs, man. For real. You know, everything in this office report's conclusory. Suspicious Aloysius. You know, is he driving while black?
Judge, would you allow us just a few minutes to call?
I mean, really, if you sit and think about it, the officer's got to fill out these statements, but it's got to have all the elements. Most magistrates ignore that and go on the behalf of the, of the state, allegedly, right? He's not playing it. He is actually a really good magistrate. These things is the way every magistrate is supposed to be talking about. Where's the proof? Where's the burden of proof? State or city? Where is it?
The officer, just to see, we don't have an OR. We're just going off of the
Sure,
terms.
let's do this. I'm going to have them, because I want to make sure if we find probable cause that it's really there. All right, so just hang tight for me. We're going to have to do a little deeper dive. If you just mind taking a seat for me momentarily, okay? Okay. Don't leave, Mr. Shaw. Jaramillo Jimenez? You were charged with driving while intoxicated. You were facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
On October 28, 2024, officers conducted a traffic stop on the defendant's motor vehicle after observing it operate without all of its lighting equipment activated during the nighttime. Upon contact with the defendant, who is the driver and sole occupant, officers observed the suspect to have slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and an odor of alcoholic beverage. Defendant admitted to drinking 2 alcoholic beverages about 1 to 2 hours prior. SFSTs were conducted. 6 out of 6 HGM, 7 out of 8 walk and turn, 2 out of 4 one-leg stand. DICs were read, but breath was refused, and a search warrant was signed and executed. The defendant does also not have an eligible driver's license, Judge.
All right. Again, to the average people, this should be an open shut case because this is the way every single magistrate operates, right? So let's hear what he has to say about this because you could tell he's like,
Again, we have to go on an offense writing report, just class. I mean, it's completely conclusory. Read me the first sentence. Why the PC for the stop?
Read from the damn screen, Judge. I just want to make sure it's correct.
Without all of its nighttime equipment on. What on earth does that mean?
All right. So previous videos, some of you guys are new, but I also said, you never go in there and make a claim, okay? And an example, one of the examples I use, right? The officer pulled me over. You know, the officer said he pulled me over at 2 o'clock. Okay, that's all he put in there, right? But the judge is saying, you know, Diesel, was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Right? Then you go in there, well, it was nighttime. Well, you just made the claim, and you took the burden of proof off them. And don't think other magistrates, not him per se. He's a really good magistrate. But other magistrates will do that to you. Okay? So you intentionally, on accident, made a claim it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay? He may be thinking it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But since you made this claim, and he's thinking 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you are guilty. Even though that it was factual at 2 o'clock in the morning, because he was thinking 2 o'clock in the afternoon when there was daylight. Okay? So, you're automatically guilty now. Okay? You never know what's going on behind their minds, all right? Up means down, down means up. West means east, east means west. That's actually U.S. Code 1, Section 1. It tells you that's what they're going to do. He's a good magistrate. He's not doing that.
See if we can read it from, if we have the offense report, Judge, because that's what it gives.
Headlights, brake lights, turn lights.
Stop lamps. I love my favorite kind of light.
Okay, so you got 3 cases that are DUIs and 1 case that's fleeing and eluding, and Judge Fleischer has smacked all of them down for probable cause. And he's talking about, when he says OR, he's talking about offense report. He's saying that a police officer doesn't even feel compelled to write a complete and thorough offense report. Now, I will tell you there is some strategy to that they teach you when you're in law enforcement training, and that is that you should only write in your affidavit whatever you need to establish probable cause. The problem is they don't do a good job of teaching law enforcement officers what it actually means to establish probable cause. We see it every day on YouTube. We see that they don't know when they have reasonable suspicion. They don't know that they have to build reasonable suspicion to probable cause, and they don't know what probable cause actually means. So the idea that you tell a police officer, well, don't give us any more than you need for probable cause, because again, like I explained earlier, you're not entitled to the entire discovery of the case in most places until you're indicted. And so there is a strategy to not giving you all the information, and it's not a Brady or discovery violation until there's actually been an indictment. And so they don't give any more than necessary to establish probable cause. The problem is that there's been so many corners cut with these police officers, and there are so many judges out there that rubber stamp anything that they do, and they don't ever get challenged by the court system, that this is what you kind of end up with. And so,
And there you go. All right. So this is D Sweet the People News. All right. Till next time. Bye, y'all.